Boys and Girls Podcast.
I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas, and we're so glad you joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in. Christy and Nathan Nockels have had a long career in music, first signing with Rocketown Records and releasing 5 albums as the duo Watermark. Nathan and Christy would also join the Passion Movement in 1997 as featured worship artists, and Christy would sign with Six Step Records, releasing 3 solo albums. As their passion journey came to a close, the Nockels family of 5 felt called to return to Tennessee, the place that has always felt most like home. In 2016, Christy launched her podcast, The Glorious and the Mundane, a place where she's learning to use her voice beyond just singing. She has developed a love for writing even beyond music, and her book, The Life You Long For, represents a labor of love stretching her past her musical borders. Nathan is a brilliant songwriter, musician, producer, and composer, and has received 7 GMA Dove Awards. In addition to continuing to produce music for other artists, Nockels is building his own body of instrumental work, starting with Everywhere the River Goes, his solo artistic debut. Nathan and Christy currently reside in Franklin, Tennessee, where they share 3 children. We have loved and listened to the music of these 2 incredibly talented, wholehearted folks for decades now. It was a joy to sit down in conversation with them. Enjoy this thoughtful conversation with Nathan and Christy Nockels.
Well, you two, we have talked. Y'all have been on our list to ask to be on the podcast for a decade, maybe.
Very
long.
So long. So we're so honored to get to sit with y'all.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you. And we'd love to start with y'all talking a little bit about your story, about your family, about how y'all met and how you found your way to the work that you're doing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we met when we were both 19. So have you ever heard that like CCM used to do a thing called, it was the seminar in the Rockies?
Yes.
It was like, I forget like the official name they would
It was
call
like if you wanted to be a big Christian artist, you go to Estes Park, Colorado, and you take all these writing seminars and singing and songwriting competitions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I wrote for them for a minute.
Oh, did you
Yeah,
really?
isn't that funny?
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So this
yes,
would have
I
been
remember.
a 1894. No, it was a 1993.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was writing for him in 91, 92.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that's so fun.
Right around there.
Yeah. So my parents and we took a trek out there and we'd heard about it. And I think some people in our church even just like helped me get there, kind of, so sweet. And then kind of the same thing, he and our mutual friend, Charlie, which I met through him, but they were already leading worship together, making music. And they went out there because did a lady pay for y'all to trek out there too?
You guys are going to be the next big thing in Christian music.
So
I'm going to send you all to, we're like, all right. So we went out 2 days early and went camping. And
but sorry.
we were just checked out of the whole seminar thing.
Except the fact that Rich Mullins was playing that year. And
Yeah.
that was the big
Yeah.
draw. We were all just like, so, because you got to see different Christian artists each night, and that was like that was a sweet thing. But we saw each other out there, and we had mutual friends, so we kind of knew each other. But that was kind of the start of it all. And then, we kind of just were never friends. We just started dating right after that. And we both, because he was already actually making albums with his friend Charlie Hall, he invited me to come sing on one of their projects, their second project, which they kind of had like a tri-state area, like college following at the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was a big risk for you to ask like, hey, can my girlfriend come sing?
Yeah, I know. Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I just gotten all 4 wisdom teeth pulled, and it was the first time I sang in a studio. I didn't know what I was doing. My mom drove me and, went to sing on this album they were making. And that was really the beginning of what eventually we would be called Sons and Daughters. So the 3 of us formed this worship group kind of thing. And we were it was that time in the church when things were shifting from the church just singing about God to singing to God. And so it was this like really the beginnings of a movement that we've all seen happen over the last 20 years. And we, just got to be in on the beginnings of that. And so that led us to actually that album that we eventually wrote with Charlie recorded an album called Sons and Daughters. I think the title was Holy Roar. And Louis Giglio found that album. He wrote us. It was when email was like first a thing. We were like, "Who's Louis Giglio?" Like we didn't know. We got this email on our desktop, but he had gotten a hold of our little project that we had made with Nathan and Charlie and I, and he was like, "Who are you kids?" Basically, he was like, I had to pull over because I couldn't see to drive, because he was like, the songs that you're singing are the prayers that we're praying for this collegiate ministry that my wife and I are starting. And so that was kind of one track. And then we also ended up in Houston right around that time, leading worship every Monday night of course, this was like back in the day, but like 3,000 singles would come in for this Bible study at First Baptist Houston. And they called and asked us if we'd be a part of that. And that's actually how eventually Rocketown Records came through. They had Chris Rice. You probably remember. Yes. He was a new artist at that time. And we led worship one night. They had Chris Rice come in. And of course, we grew up on Michael's music. And so I feel like I'm doing all the talking. Sorry. But
it's so fun to hear.
Wonderful. But that launched a passion conference worship lane. Mm-hmm. But we also had a Rocketown Records watermark lane. Yeah. And they kind of didn't really overlap a lot. So we and then in the middle of that would be, if we're talking music, I started producing records for other artists. Yeah. So we kind of had these three different lanes going, and then throw in a bunch of little kids. And then here we are.
To make it interesting.
That is so funny.
Throw in some kids to the mix, yeah.
Okay, 2 follow-up questions on that. One is, can you still listen to Sons and Daughters?
Yeah, I don't think it's anywhere digitally. Like you can't. But we have thought about through the years. Like Charlie has even just almost recently in the last couple of years been like, should we do like a little revival of Sons and Daughters?
He's so fun.
But I think 25 people would love it.
Yeah,
right.
He'd love it.
But there's a lot of our friends like who remember that time, that listened. They're our peers obviously, and they listened around that time of like. Because we were all college age, and
wow.
So, but yeah, it's sweet. But,
so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, we can edit this out, Chris. But I just, as you were talking, remembered coming to some show, and I'm trying to remember if y'all were playing. It was Chris Rice and Jenny Owens. Yeah. Cindy Morgan's one of my best friends. I feel like she was there.
It's called A Night in Rocketown. Is what it was called.
And was it red? Like,
yes.
That's so
we
weird.
were on that tour. I was pregnant with Noah on that tour. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That was here.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years ago would that have been?
Like
20, over 20, like a little over 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had not thought about that until, I don't know why I remember it was red, but.
Yeah, you're right. The cover was red of that record.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember the record, like Candles or something.
Yeah.
And do you remember all this?
Yes. As you're saying it, it's coming back to
A
me.
Night in Rocketown.
Wow.
Yeah, those are fun.
And that was the first time we got to be on stage with Michael, I remember, and it was such a big deal.
Wow.
And we were doing the recording that night. I had spent the day, this has nothing to do with anything. That has zero value.
We're having fun.
I had stained our bed. We got this cheap bed. And so we could get it really cheap if I stained it. So I didn't know how to stain, I'm like, whatever, 12, So I stained the bed, and I didn't wear gloves. So my hands are like red stain. And then we do the show that night. I'm on stage, and I'm having to like play the guitar in front of Michael W. Smith with my red stain.
Oh my gosh. That was back when sleigh beds. It was the sleigh bed.
He was a sleigh bed. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Funny.
That is so funny. Y'all have sure seen Christian music change.
Oh my goodness. For real. We have.
Yes.
It's in wonderful, awesome ways, and some ways that's like, oh man, that's a bummer. But mostly good.
Yes.
Mostly good.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep talking music, because this episode is a part of our Music City series. So we want to ask you both, what was a band or artist, a song or record that you would say really shaped you, and why growing up?
Yeah.
I'm going to say on our honeymoon, this would have been in 95. We drove from Oklahoma City to Telluride, Colorado.
We were 21.
Wow.
Yes. And we were like, what are we going to... So then it was CDs. So we're like, what do we listen to? So we got the double set James Taylor live, and it had, like whatever 30 plus songs of his. Ever since then, like that's always been home base for me. That anything James does, but mainly just, and that was kind of a best of. It had all of his hits up until 95 or 96. So that's always kind of been a touch point, I guess, for me in life. And also, since I'm a producer, if I listen to the radio or something that's current, I don't necessarily enjoy it. If I enjoy it, I start analyzing, why do I enjoy this? Why is it making me feel this way? So I don't have this sense of like, I can just sit in the song, With James, he kind of bypasses that in my brain, and it's beyond a genre. It's beyond a
transcendent,
it's beyond a style. So, and I'm able just to kind of sit in it, and also all the songs memories from our entire life together since we've been married almost 30 years. It comes rushing back with every song.
Yeah, I think early on for me, probably in high school and early college years, it would be Susan Ashton for sure. Like that, like you remember how much those albums, like it was just like, what is this?
And the lyrics were just killer. Yeah,
and then right around that time, I would say it was right when we actually, what I was listening to on the way, or maybe we listened to on that trip from Telluride when we met, was like Maranatha Praise Band had this one album that came out. What was the title?
I think it was called Praise Band 1, Praise Band 2, or something like that.
That was the first time I had heard, worship in that way. There was I remember this, a worship leader named Marcia Skidmore, and it was the first time I'd heard this like beautiful tone, but it sounded like love songs you would hear on the radio. Of course, this was way back then, y'all. It was like before worship music could sound like that. All I kind of knew was hymns.
Yes.
And so it was like I was hearing this voice and I was like, wow, these people were singing straight to Jesus. And there's just like beautiful tone, like her voice was angelic. And I remember that, like, I was like, what if music could sound like that,
Wow.
So that really shaped me for sure in our early, like starting to write and when we were first having songs on the radio and stuff. Yeah. But
so cool.
Yeah.
I remember them. I don't remember that album, but I remember.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And now a quick break to hear from one of our awesome sponsors so that we can bring you all this great content. One upside to having a puppy that needs to be walked every 10 minutes is that I am moving my body more and I've met so many more people in my neighborhood.
June is very social, isn't she?
Yes, she wants every passing person to acknowledge her. I just met a mom wearing a baby and pushing 2-year-old twins in a stroller. Bless her.
Can you imagine how little sleep she's had in the past 2 years? I hope you told them about our sponsor, Needed. It could help her feel more energy, mental clarity, and resilient through products we've come to know and love from our friends at Needed.
Needed is a brand we trust for nutrition products that support all stages of parenthood, from preconception to postpartum support and beyond.
They're backed by over 4,000 nutrition and health experts, including OBGYNs, midwives, and dietitians, and the brand really understands the unique needs of parents.
A Needed survey found 90% of breastfeeding women expressed difficulty concentrating, 87% said they felt forgetful, and 83% expressed difficulty with mental clarity, like brain fog. And I bet 100% of them need a nap, bless their hearts.
The mental load on women is heavy, from stress to caregiving, multitasking, technology use, and the unique demands of everyday life. I am loving taking Needed's cognitive and stress support. I've noticed better focus, attention, mental clarity, concentration, better ability to cope with stress, and better energy. And we want that for you too.
And they even have products specifically designed for dads too. I love their men's multi. It supports everything from libido and sperm health to brain function and hair coverage.
If you're looking for products that can optimally support your brain health, mood, energy, mental clarity, and replenish your nutrient stores after having one or more kids, check out Needed's comprehensive line of nutritional products. Head over to thisisneeded.com and use code RBG for 20% off your first order.
That's THISISNEEDED.com and use code RBG for 20% off your first order.
David, is June still waking up before the sun?
Yes, and if she doesn't learn to sleep in, I'm worried my wife is going to donate her to Goodwill. I can tell I'm drinking too much coffee to combat the early rising.
Well, I may have a solution for you. I love my coffee routine, but I don't like the way it makes me feel. Everyday Dose has the classic coffee taste you love without the nasty side effects, plus added benefits. No crash and no jitters.
Everyday Dose is coffee plus benefits. It combines 100% Arabica coffee with powerful ingredients like lion's mane and chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics to fuel your brain, boost focus, and give you clean, sustained energy all day long.
No crash, no jitters, just clean, sustained energy. 2 products to highlight, Coffee Plus and Coffee Plus Bold. Coffee Plus is a mild roast, light and smooth, low acidity, which is easy on sensitive stomachs, mellow energy.
Coffee Plus Bold is a rich blend of medium roast, 100% Arabica coffee, robust and full-bodied yet smooth. Extra boost of energy.
Both are 100% Arabica coffee, have functional benefits, and are mold-free. Everyday Dose does third-party testing.
Get 45% off your first subscription order of 30 servings of Coffee Plus or Bold Plus. You'll also receive a starter kit with over $100 in free gifts, including a rechargeable frother and gunmetal serving spoon by going to everydaydose.com/RBG or entering RBG at checkout. You'll also get free gifts throughout the year.
That's everydaydose.com/RBG for 45% off your first order.
And now back to the show.
So when would you each say you knew that you wanted music to be your life's work?
It would be just, as early as my memories start.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Wow,
But it was more like, it wasn't like, I want to be a music producer and a songwriter. It was more like taking piano lessons, obviously, but sitting at the piano. My earliest memory of playing piano, I was probably in 2nd grade. I had listened to a song on the radio, or maybe it was like Jesus Loves Me or something, but I figured it out how to play it on the piano.
2nd grade.
Yeah, I just kind of worked it out. And then I was so pumped and excited. I couldn't wait for my dad to get home from work. And I was like, hey, check this out. I picked it out. Basically, what I was doing was hearing something, and then by hearing it, I could imitate it. And I was so fascinated by that, and it kind of woke something up in me. And then through the years, high school, me being involved with talent shows, and then us doing music at church when we first got married, I seemed to be the only one that was really concerned about how the band sounded. Is the kick drum matching up with the bass? And what's the rhythm of the guitar? And is he matching what? Are you all listening to each other? And I was really concerned about that. And I think I started realizing, wait, nobody else in the room cares about this except me. So I was like, I spent a lot of years feeling guilty, like I wasn't spiritual enough. But I settled, obviously now in hindsight, I settled into like, oh, that's, like God wired me up like that.
Yes.
Like that's my thing. So I draw the line kind of all the way back to like just kind of picking stuff out on the piano. So that's all I kind of knew.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think I was probably 7.
Really?
My dad was a pastor, and so that kind of gave me this natural platform for me to, he'd always have me sing at church. And but I remember kind of as I started to grow in it, even when I was little, I remember the way that he would approach me to sing at church. He would say, Christy, I want you to find a song that really speaks to your heart, and then I want you to share it with our people. And so it was sweet. It would like have me go on the hunt, for the
inviting
song.
you in.
And then it was like, okay, and I would find the song, and then I would work on it. I usually sing out in the garage because the acoustics were great. And then I would share it, and I would always be so nervous, like almost make me sick nervous. But there was just something in me that was like, I'm supposed to do this. And it wasn't for my dad. It just was like this inner knowing, like, this is what I'm supposed to do, And that just continued all the way through high school and college. And yeah, and again, I didn't necessarily like know, I knew I wanted to marry someone who would be in music. That was like the desire of my heart. But I also, all I had ever seen was like, maybe like Southern gospel where like couples were like, have the big, microphone with the big foam red thing on the top. And they're like working the mic cable. And I was like, I don't think it's that, but.
In the mic cable.
She could do one loop or two loops. Oh, she did too.
It's just sweet how that desire was in me, but it's so cool how like God knew like how it was all supposed to look.
Yes.
And just wired me up for it, but also put me with the right person. So yeah, it's fun.
Well, you two, your music is beloved by so many people, us included.
Thank you.
Thinking about all the places you have performed and toured and rooms you've been in, like, is there a particular what in the world kind of moment that you've each had?
Yeah.
Well, I think with our music specifically, when I say I'm completely unaware, I think it's almost a cool thing, a curtain God just kind of dropped in front of both of us where we're just totally clueless. So when you say things like that, it's encouraging and it lets us know, but it's not like, yeah, I know. It blessed you, didn't it? It's like, we don't have any idea, I would say I do remember there was a passion. This was more of a fun, like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It would have been a passion conference in maybe 2015, something like that. We were at the Georgia Dome.
Actually, 2013.
2013. And there was like 60,000 plus people. And it was the opening session. And I was to conduct an orchestra for the big opening thing. And I remember like 5,000 people is a lot. 10,000 is a lot. And then 65,000 is like it's kind of scary, honestly.
Inconceivable,
Yeah, it's really odd. And so to be able to walk out on that stage and be like, oh my gosh, this thing's not going to start until I raise my left hand and say, go. It was not, I wasn't wielding power. It was more like there's a huge moment.
Yes.
And I have the privilege of being right in the middle of this, and this is so fun.
And I'll interject that I was so proud of him because he took conducting in college. I mean, he got a music education degree, and I was like, you're getting to use your conducting skills.
I know. The one thing I pulled from my little, probably a more intimate example would probably be, I remember we released a Christmas record in 2016, and we had some friends, a married couple, and we had sent them the record. And the husband, they were listening to it in the car. The husband was kind of secretly filming his wife as she was listening to this song because he wanted to send this video to us so we could see her reaction. But she was completely unaware in her own world. And she was listening to the bridge, and she started crying, like just not like sobbing, but just getting teared up and crying. He was like, babe, why are you crying? He's secretly filming. She was like, it's just so beautiful. And he sent that video. And then she saw he was filming. She was like, oh my gosh, stop filming. And so he sent that video to us. And that thing you were saying, like, oh, your music meant so much. It's like, that was something that like broke through the curtain. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It like, the stuff that I think about all the time, like how beautiful and melodic and gorgeous can we make this? It broke through, and it touched her. And I was like, and I saw a real, actual reaction to it. And I've always kind of held on to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say I kind of have a macro and a micro as well. But like the macro would be, we got to lead with our friend Matt Redman at Royal Albert Hall in London.
Wow.
That was probably like 6 years ago, maybe. And first of all, just getting to go over. We've been friends with Matt for years and years, but just to get to go over and support him, and that he would invite us into that. But just that's his country, his people. But it was also that night is called Prom Praise. And it is a lot, actually, it's all ages, but the mosh pit was full of college students. And what the night is about is actually the hymns of their nation. And I just thought, wow, like it was just an incredible course, just the list of people who've, been able to sing at Royal Albert Hall is just, it's beautiful. But also I think the meaningful thing of just getting to be there with just a dear colleague and friend, and getting to support him in that night was just so sweet to watch him get to lead that. It was a big deal for him because prom praise is like a big deal there, and just getting to like kind of, I don't know, be support for him that night. But another one's kind of similar to Nathan. For this lullaby album we released back in 2018, I think, every once in a while we'll just have moms send a little video of their kids. And one of them in the last couple of years was, she's a toddler. She's just sitting in her car seat. And her mom said, Anna, tell me again, who do you want to listen to? And so she's like filming back, and she's sitting in her car seat. She, again, she's 2.5 probably. And she's holding this big Chick-fil-A cup. And she said, play Christy Nockels. And she said, is it because you want to go to sleep? And she like took a big drink, and she goes, uh-huh. And it just made me like tear up. And it literally, like in my heart, it like welled up like there's nothing greater than that to me. Like how sweet, like to be a voice that you could sit in your car seat in a minivan and take a nap while your mom's driving, and that you would be a voice that would just help bring calm and peace. Like I was like, I made it. Like I just literally was like, to me, that's just better than anything.
And to be, and what's more of a sacred time than bedtime?
Yeah.
It's the most intimate, quietest
It's the
seconds.
sweetest.
Yes.
And then we get to be
a part of that.
Yes.
It's
So
pretty cool.
just sacred. Yeah.
Yes.
For real. But yeah.
I had this amazing experience where I got to go hear Madeline Lingle and Lucy Shaw together teach on writing
Oh, wow.
in Canada. And Madeline Lingle said, falling asleep and waking up are such holy moments because our consciousness doesn't filter out all of kind of the raw thoughts and feelings. And as therapists, it's when kids get most anxious. And so the fact that you're singing to kids in those moments, I mean, what an immense
Oh, that's so interesting.
gift and opportunity to anchor truth in their hearts in such a beautiful way.
It is. Love it.
And do you have a new lullaby album coming out?
Yes, we
Tell
do.
us about
talk about that, please.
Yeah. So we just released a new album. I can't believe it took us 7 years actually to make another one because this is just, it's been one that we just kind of thought that was what it was. It's just going to sit there. It'll always be just a really precious thing. But the Lord's really brought us back to that in real specific ways. And so it's called King Who Never Sleeps, Anthems for Rest. And really the whole idea and heart behind it is the songs are really kind of, here's all the reasons we have to rest. We do have a king who never sleeps. We get to rest. And kind of even the album cover is like the crest or a coat of arms of like the kingdom of the son he loves. And just wanting to help people understand when we trust in Jesus, like that's our inheritance. We belong to this kingdom and we have such refuge in our king and his kingdom. And so that's the whole theme of it. But yeah, it's just been something the Lord's brought us back around to because really of the story after story of kind of like you just said, of just how sacred it is to get to be a part of people resting. And we've had probably, honestly, I think it's important to say too that this isn't really just for babies. It's for all ages.
Yes.
And we've had just, a dear family, one of the songs helped them through their grandfather having dementia. And they ended up playing it at his service, one of the songs, because it just helped. The song's called Keep the Light On. And you just never know how the Lord's going to like reveal to them, the meaning in a myriad of different ways, because the songs are really just such a partnership with the Lord to be able to just go, okay, here it is, like take this and use it however you want to. But yeah, just through the years, the stories have been just so beautiful. So it causes just to come back around to it again. And I always know when it's the right thing, when just those kind of songs start flowing. And they did. And so over the last couple of years, I lost my mom Thanksgiving before last. And it's also just, this album was like a healing balm for my own heart. I had no idea that was what, part of what God was going to use to help healing come. And so these songs have already just ministered to me, I've cried through them, like almost every single one. But yeah, just we're so excited to just really help, honestly, like just resource families. I think a shared listening experience is so just precious and needed right now. And so the hope is that it's falling on mom and dad just as much as it's, falling on the children in such a peaceful way. So we're so excited about it.
Can't wait to listen.
Thank you.
And I'm so sorry you lost your mom. We both have lost ours, and it's just
so hard.
It's so hard.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you also have a book that we would love for you to talk about, which is interesting, talking about rest, called The Life You Long For, Learning to Live from a Heart of Rest.
Yeah.
We talk about that and why you wrote that and what your hopes came from it.
Yeah, it really stirred up from when the kids were pretty little. Our oldest, I think, was 5 at the time. Our middle was about 3, and it was right before we had our third. And the Lord just called me to a place of honestly realizing that the pace we were going at was unsustainable for our family. And at that time, we were touring and doing all the things, and the kids were just kind of in tow. And and so I kind of hit a wall in that season. And it was sweet, though, how the Lord just came after my heart to really just learn how to be his kid, learn how to be his beloved, learn how to be seen by him in the most unproductive moments of my life. And that was hard. And he actually called me in that season to lay down my career for about 5 years. And so, I went from those like moments he was describing, leading, worship in the Georgia Dome, those kind of moments, which we did some of that afterwards too, but like to, washing sippy cups and doing the carpool line in a minivan. And so it was during that time that the Lord just started showing me really that, his presence with me is really his plan for me and for us. And that, I could learn to even, write songs. I probably wrote maybe 35 songs behind the wheel of that minivan or that steering wheel of that minivan. But learning to not compartmentalize anymore, but just that it's all one thing. And that I could, even invite my kids into my creativity in a lot of ways. And that it didn't have to look a certain way, but it could just kind of be one big, beautiful thing. Even some days it looks super messy, but that book really came out of that. I wrote it about 20 years later, but really just kind of the gist of it is like kind of I give the picture of a bullseye in concentric circles, and that bullseye is that place of abiding, it's that place of rest. And I remember in that season, the Lord was like, Christy, if you just hit the bullseye with me, I will take care of all the outer rings of your life and I will show you my glory. Like, I'll do it. If you'll just do this, like hit the bullseye with me and your family, like reprioritize. And when I started doing that, he showed up. And really the book is kind of all the ways he kept his promise and just showed up in all of these ways that I never could have, connected or done for myself. And so, that's kind of been a life message of learning to live from that place of like a soul rest and trusting him and surrendering to him. So, And
now we're going to take a little break to hear from one of our sponsors who makes this podcast possible. We did an overhaul of our garage and kitchen at the lake house last week, David. Guess who inspired it?
Marie Kondo.
Good guess, but no. It was Our Place. We got the Our Place 4-piece cookware set. It's the multifunctional, high-performance, space-saving pots and pans. Buying the 4-piece cookware set saves you $150. Plus, they all match in Our Place's famous colors.
I have it in sage green, and we leave it out all the time. Their products are amazing.
A study by the Ecology Center in California found that 80% of nonstick pans contain Teflon, PFAS, which can be released into your food, home, and body. Also, a brand new study published in the Science of the Total Environment found that a single scratch on a nonstick coated pan can release approximately 9,100 plastic particles.
Our Place's products are trusted by Michelin star chefs and have over 80,000 5-star reviews.
And we have the Wonder Oven at the lake, which we love. It's a revolutionary air fryer and toaster oven that sold out 8 times. Made from stainless steel and glass, offering an eco-friendly, high-performance cooking experience.
Stop cooking with toxic cookware and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/RBG and use code RBG for 10% off site-wide.
With a 100-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and returns, you can experience this game-changing cookware with zero risk. You know my nephew Whit is like a spokesperson for Hiya Vitamins. He not only marches around the house shaking his bottle of vitamins, but he offered to share his smoothie made from Hiya's Kids Daily Greens plus Superfoods with someone recently.
That amazing guy knows that typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives growing kids should never eat.
Hiya is designed for kids 2 and up and sent straight to your door, so parents have one less thing to worry about. They send this amazing bottle with stickers in the first order, and Whit loved decorating with it, and it doubles as a parade instrument at our house.
And if you are tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens, Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55-plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. Just ask Whit.
We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/RBG. This deal is not available on their regular website.
Go to hiyahealth.com/RBG and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults.
And now back to our show.
Well, let's keep talking about your kids, speaking of them. So we would love to ask you both, in thinking about them, what have you learned about raising adolescents and launching young adults into this world?
Yeah, lots.
A lot of practice in that space.
Mm-hmm.
I think we learn obviously every day. Like if you ask me this evening, I'll have a different answer. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I remember Noah, who's 24 now, and he just got engaged. He's going to get married in October.
Oh, y'all.
Congratulations.
Yeah, big fun things. I remember him being like 3 years old and thinking, every time I talk about him, I get emotional. I don't know why, but I know why. I love him. He's awesome. I remember thinking when he was 3 and he's just being a little punk, thinking like, okay, how I respond right now is what kind of relationship do I want to have with him when he's 13? And I remember thinking, okay, he's going to be 13 and he's going to be like, and sure enough, it happened, found an iPad, looked at stuff he shouldn't have looked, earlier than 13, and we're going to have these talks and we're going to have to go through all this stuff. And I want him to be honest with me. And I want him to, I got to make the deposits like right now, like 2.5, 3 years old, and then 3.5, and then 4. And I don't remember this situation, but I remember being really frustrated with Noah. And we were just like, because he was kind of a handful. But
That's why we came to your class.
That's why we came to your class.
We
Totally,
really did.
that's why we came to your class. It's so helpful. But I think looking back, I think that was a big lesson. And then when he was 13 and 14, what kind of relationship do I want to have with Noah when he's 24? And then it would inform all my little decisions. So when he would do whatever or something dumb, it'd be like, all right, well, how I respond to this is going to affect my relationship with him in 8 years. And that's my goal. That's my point on the horizon. And so now that he's 24, it's like, obviously, I'm very present and in the moment with him. But I also think when he starts having kids, I want our home to be a safe place that they know they can come to and not be criticized for the things they are not doing, how, they're doing things differently than we did. And just our place is, it's safe and it's okay here. And your kids are safe here. So that's kind of what I'm working towards now.
It's beautiful. Making me teary. Yeah, I think for me, one thing I've learned is just how important it is. And I think I just, how so much of it you stumble over and you're having to learn through your own things you need to own and how you need to apologize to them or come and ask for forgiveness. But I think, one thing the Lord just helped me stumble on was just that rather than correcting, like calling them up and just telling them who they really are. Yeah. And so often when, especially with the girls, I would say like, this isn't who you are, And so the behavior is just kind of pushed to the side a little bit. It's like, that's not really what this is about, But it's like when I would do that, and I found when like I would sit and just affirm them, even though like he just said, like I might have been ticked off, but like when I would just sit with them and affirm them and just like, this is actually who you are. And do you see how that, like how you're acting right now? It just isn't. So, and they're like, and they agree. Wow. And so I think that's it. I've found that has been one of the most fruitful things if I can calm down enough to just be in that place and just like, okay. And like he was saying, just looking beyond the moment to, okay, what is the whole picture here? And, just how do we want to come after their heart and just steward their precious hearts? And so, yeah, just those moments of like, and then when, they walk off, you're just like, thank you, God, for the grace in that moment to just do the switch and be like, this isn't who you are, is it? And they're like, no, actually not. This is who I am, and that has been something that's remained like a sweet, sweet thing still to this day. So
beautiful.
What would y'all say is some of the best parenting advice you have received along the journey?
I think it's the age old, this is going to go so fast. I know that everyone says it, and kind of in the moment, you're like, okay, whatever. Like today feels like, a million years long, but it's so true. And I will say, Nathan heeded that advice, and then he helped me hang on to that. But what it really did through the years was like, I really do feel like he was like, we're going to miss this. Like, and just like literally like would put their faces in our hands. Like just with those moments where you're just like, okay, we don't want this moment to pass or let's take it all in. We don't want to have those regrets later on that we just, that we missed it. And then I think too, like, owning what you need to own. Like I kind of, said that a minute ago, just like when you do need to, like if you blow it with your kids, like just ask for their forgiveness, and how that like builds such trust. Like when you just own what you need to own with them, and even it teaches them. And I think so much too, we're realizing is like, it's so much about what you model. It's less about what you teach them and say, and it's so much more about what you model to them, and like in the just situations that you're in with them and the conversations that you're having. And so I think that's, so many people told us when the kids were little, like, I promise it's gonna go so fast. And I feel like we took note, and we're like, and it's true. It goes so fast.
Yeah. I would say like, I think my advice that I received maybe was like nonverbal advice. And to be respectful, my mom passed. Stepdad is still around, and I'm not being disrespectful, but I think we can all look at our stories and be like, man, what would have been the things that would have filled in the gaps in my own childhood?
Yes.
And that's informed a ton of my decisions raising kids. And some of those would be like, imagining like, what would have been like if I was, 7 or 8 and they sat me down and like, Nathan, what do you feel about this? Like, what do you think? I would have been like, "Whoa, what?" You know, it would have been an odd thing to be asked how I felt about something or what I actually thought, and that my thoughts, even at 12, are not small, non-adult thoughts, but they're actually full thoughts that fill up my entire being. And even though I'm stressed about I didn't get picked for the dodgeball team or I got picked last, that's small in comparison to, well, I got a mortgage and I got I got life insurance, I got and I got to deal with your mom's parents and blah, blah, blah. But my dodgeball situation it fills me up all the way as much as your stress fills you up. And to be able to, so that kind of non-advice kind of gap, I think helped me now, like, okay, this thing they're dealing with right now, like they got, someone texted them, like even our high school gal, Annie, she's a senior, she gets a sideways text from one of her friends, and she's like, this pain she's feeling it's just as big as all my stuff.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, oh yeah, okay. Like listen and sympathize and it's a big deal because it is a big deal to her. You know?
Having the perspective you both do now with your kids being the ages that they are, is there anything you wish someone had told you on the front side of the journey?
Oh, man. Gosh. I think how, you know, we really do reap what we sow. And I think lately I've had a couple of young moms ask me that. And I will say, you're going to see the fruit. And so it's so encouraging because it's like, if you are making the hard choices, sometimes, like for me, it was laying down my career for a while, or it is sometimes everyday decisions as an adult to prioritize your kids and your family and not just see them as, you know, these blobs that need you, you know, at every point of the day, but just see them as actual people and to have eyes on them and like I said, just steward their hearts. But yeah, you're gonna see the fruit of those decisions that often feel unseen. They feel uncelebrated by the world because sometimes they're counterculture and sometimes can even be like counter church culture a little bit, like those just hard decisions that we're making, like to prioritize our family. But like, I think it's sweet to be this far down the road at this point and go like, oh, like we're seeing the fruit of those hard decisions of laying things down and on behalf of our kids. And we're just able to, we're reaping that in some of those ways that it's like those go and tell no one ways that like only you and God and your family know. You're just like, God, this is so precious. And then I think too, like those moments where, you know, I didn't produce good fruit, you know, it just where I needed to turn and kind of make a switch and stuff. It's like also, as I said before, just owning what you need to own and just let the rest go. Let what is under your dominion is what you can own, you know, and then the rest you can just release. What's out of your control, you can just go, okay, I release that, as long as you know, looking at your kids. Like I just did that with our middle daughter recently, of just some things I felt like I needed to just come back around and own with her. And it was just so sweet. It cleared the air and I just felt like it released something. And I wish I would have known that early on, like someone would have told me that in the very beginning. But
I love all that. I agree.
Y'all, I'm sad that we're getting to the close of this conversation. Will you just say for everybody listening, where can folks find and follow along with all the amazing things you're doing in your podcast too?
Yes. So I started a podcast called The Glorious and the Mundane. And it's really about kind of those, it was spurred on by those years of just learning how to find God in the ordinary moments, and love to encourage especially young moms in that space. And that's been a beautiful thing. That's been going for about 8 years now. And so you can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts. And then ChristyNockels.com. I'm on Instagram pretty regularly. And then you can, of course, listen to all the music anywhere that you stream music. So, yeah.
You too. We really don't want this to end.
No.
You're so enjoyable to spend time with.
Thank
Yes.
you.
But we will respect your time. We want to do that. And we end with something fun and food related. So we move from the substantive to the silly. And we've got a two-part question. Part 1 is queso or guac. Part 2 is what's your favorite taco?
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to go with queso. I mean, if I'm just we cheat on the weekends, and so man, as long as it's a cheat day, I guess I'm just gonna go for queso. But
Yeah, I would say guac. You can get super creative with guac. If you like put salsa in it, and then what are you actually dipping in the guac?
Yeah.
And taco. Do they do like a taco with like peanut butter and jelly in it? Because I would do that.
You can
That'd be
do it
good.
any kind you want.
That's
Oh
great.
my gosh.
I'm a simple guy.
I love like a good like brisket taco, that whole situation.
Oh, I take mine back. I like that.
Yeah, and
Yes.
like red onion
With
and
the really
cilantro.
small tortillas.
Yes.
With the
Like a little
brisket.
street taco
Yeah.
thing. That would be
Yes.
good.
I want that answer. Yeah.
Y'all, thank you.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
We're honored to be
Such a
here.
gift to have time with you.
Yes,
We're
it is.
honored. Thank you.
David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible. Chris Starrett, our engineer,
Our management team at KCH.
and we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.